Okay, this video covers the Sec 1 Geography, Chapter 2 assignment. We will be looking at your error analysis as well as to do a walkthrough for your revision. So question one is a data response map stimulus question. So if you were to look at the stimulus itself, what are some of the things that should jump out at you? Number one, you should be able to figure out which continent this is. Right, there are many clues. If you go in and take a closer look, you will see that this stimulus has all the countries listed in this continent. Right, the countries include some that you may recall in your general knowledge. Countries like Kenya, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Angola, or more common ones, maybe Cameroon, Nigeria, okay, South Africa, Zimbabwe. I think I mentioned Zimbabwe twice. So if you look at the selected resources, this is the legend area. This actually tells you what all these symbols mean, right? Which are the countries that actually produce oil, gas. You can mine for diamonds there, right? Which are the ones that produce gold? Which are the ones that produce uranium, right? The radioactive material that's used for generating nuclear power, right? So this is your stimulus, okay? Next step, let's look at the question itself, 1A. What does 1A actually want us to do? 1A highlights very clearly that you have to identify the continent only. So when you're talking about identify, please remember one word, identify. There's no need to provide an explanation, right? I just want to know the correct term. So keep this in mind when we're talking about identify. One key thing that's very important is the term. So they want the continent, you have to give me the continent. Okay? The continent here must be shown. So which continent is this? Right, continent is Africa. So you would like to take a closer look at the suggested answers, you can pause the video. Now moving on, question B, what does question B want to deal with? Question B wants to deal with this. Okay, identify again, country, right? Identify the country that has the presence of both uranium and gold. So we have to go into this area on the continent of South Africa. We are looking for things that have uranium, okay, uranium for this logo, as well as gold, which is this logo over here that I'm highlighting with the laser pointer. Right? So which countries have both? Right? So you take a look. This one has uranium and diamond, gold, uranium, no uranium and gold. Right? So you have to look through and figure out which country are we talking about. Now in this case here, they want a country. And so if you have more than one country, pick the one that you feel is most suitable, list me that country. However, if they say countries, then you have to keep an eye out. There should be more than one. Okay, but in this stimulus here, actually there are two countries that have both uranium and gold, Namibia as well as South Africa. So once again, if you want to take a look at the examples of the suggested answers, you can pause the video and note down the suggested answers. Moving on, this is the second type of stimulus that we've gone through in class and in your textbooks as well, right? This is a photograph stimulus. So this photograph here shows us use of resources, right? So there's actually a gentleman here who is using the resource, right? There's a gentleman on a raft. Okay, so what are the resources that we see in this photograph? Where are they located in the photograph? Right, so in the background, you can see forest areas, right? You can see trees, which then in turn provide wood. In the foreground, you can see the river itself, the large body of water. Okay, what are the functions of these things? Keep this in mind. Okay, this is processing the photo itself before you look at the questions. How about this question one? Then question 2A asks to identify and describe. So identify, like earlier on in question 1, identify means give me the correct geographical term, okay, of the resources that the man in the photograph would value. He will value, not you value, he value, okay? What will he use it for? Okay, describe how he will value it means how, what are the users of this resource. First and foremost, for the 4 mark to be able to identify the two resources, you will secure your 2 marks. To be able to describe how each of these resources you have identified, how they will be valuable to the man in the photograph, you will get another 2 marks. So water is one of them, then the forest area, the bamboo or the wood is the other one, the natural resource, the resources that's available in the photograph, right? How would he use the water? Is it for transportation, right? Is it for drinking? Okay, so these are all possible answers. How will he use the bamboo, wood, or the forest? Okay, what will it be useful for him? Right? In this case here, there's a very clear use, right? So you can actually use the bamboo or the wood to make a raft for transportation. Okay, the water can also be a means of transportation as well because the raft needs to go on the water. Okay, so once again, these are the suggested solutions that we're looking for, right? More importantly, please make sure that you've circled the command words identify and describe, and you have annotated that for identify, it is once again key geographical terms. For describe, we are looking at uh, linking, okay, giving a description as to how this thing would be like. So moving on to part B, note we are at same question, question 2B, which means that you're still in the question itself. There's likelihood that you are still going to refer to the same data set. In our case, for question 2, we're still going to go back to photograph A. So question 2B asks whether the resources seen in photograph A are natural or man-made resources. Okay, so first step in your answer is you have to tell me, you have to pick one. Is it a natural resource or is it a man-made resource? Right? Next, explain your answer. What is the reason behind you making this claim that it is natural resource? Okay, or if you have claimed that it's man-made resource, what is the reason? In the process of trying to explain, you will realize that, oh, no, actually I cannot explain it's man-made resource. Whereas these are both natural resources. Water and bamboo, they occur naturally in the physical environment. Okay, keyword, they occur naturally, right? They're used by humans, but they occur naturally. Therefore, they are natural resources. Okay, so keep in mind what is important here is the concept of explain as a command word. Why? Explain means tell me why. Right? Remember when you were much younger, you always wanted to know why. Okay, so similarly, when I or when the examiner or when the test paper asks for an explain, they want to know why. So moving on to question 3. Question 3 is a non-stimulus response question. It's a recall question. So question 3 asks you to define the term renewable resource. Okay, define. Give me the actual definition. So if you meet a question like this, it means that you must be able to give the definition that was provided either in the textbook, in the notes, or acceptable definition explain of what this term renewable resource means. Next step, for 3 marks, you will need to describe how a renewable resource can become non-renewable. Okay, so a couple of points you can put in to define renewable resource. What is it? Okay, the concept of replenish naturally is important. That it's not something that you have to work to replace. It replaces itself. The second thing that is important here is unlimited. This idea of it being unlimited. You can use, and it will replenish easily. Okay, so these two very important points for defining what renewable resource is. Okay, then for describing, right, what is key? How does it become non-renewable? What we're looking at is these words here, rate at which they are used. Okay, if you use it faster than the rate which they are replenished, it becomes non-renewable. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is what we mean when we ask for a define. This is what we mean when we ask for a describe. Now, in your answer, some of you have given examples of how something that is renewable becomes non-renewable. Is it a must to do so? No. If it clearly helps you in your learning and in your explanation, will you be penalized for giving examples? Of course not. Right? But if your example has no link, then I'm sorry, it will not be worth anything. Right, question four. Question four is a real world application question. Real world application question. So based on the idea of a concept that is happening, you are then to propose some sort of a solution. So what is this? When we are looking at this, the question says electricity bill is been increasing. The school asks for suggestions to reduce electricity bill. So think about it. One, identify one suggestion and explain how that can reduce electricity bill. So key thing is you must go all the way down to how would this then reduce electricity bill. So one way will be reduce consumption of electricity, right? That's one of the biggest things that you are looking at. Okay, what can reduce consumption of electricity? Maybe motion sensors, maybe switching off lights when not in use, maybe not using air conditioning, right? But you have to, after identifying that, explain how that will work. Okay, by switching off the lights, you avoid wastage, you consume less power. By switching off the fans of rooms that are not in use, switching off the projector, okay, by moving to motion sensors in toilets, right? What are you doing? You're saving power for when the location is not being used. And when you reduce power, you reduce the bill. So this is what we're looking for. Okay, two more questions. Question five. Question five shows us a photograph again. Photograph B now of a work of art. Okay, Gobi the fish. Okay, it's a plastic eating fish, right, in India. Right, a statue of a fish made of trash. So the question asks you to explain the mode of conservation. So you must decide, okay, explain mode of conservation. I must tell the examiner what mode of conservation there is. There are only four modes. Okay, your four R's. So think about it, which one is this? So in this case here, actually what they're doing is they're just using the trash for something else. Okay, there's no change in the function of the trash. The trash is still in its original state. It is still trash. So the method is reuse, right? Then of course the explaining comes in what are you using the trash for now, right? So it would have been discarded, but it's not. Now it's reused as a sculpture for what? For riding, for playing, for climbing? No, right? The sculpture is to create awareness. Okay, how do you know this sculpture is to create awareness? Look at the question. Look at the provenance provided, if there's provenance provided. Okay, look at the background information, if there's background information given. And that normally gives you a clue to what this thing is for. Okay, so your suggested solutions are below. These are some of the suggestions that would have been accepted. There are a range of answers that we have accepted on top of these. So it really depends on what you are able to explain out of this. And finally, one of the more important and unique things that you have covered so far in your Sec 1 with geography, right? So this one is a bar graph. Okay, it shows information of volume of waste recycled in Singapore, right? So very importantly, when you're looking at graphs like this, you need to be able to understand looking at the axis, looking at the title, okay, looking at the shape of the graph, you must be able to tell me what trends there are. Okay, so A asks to describe the trends from 2014 to 2017. There's the whole duration. So like the three data points here, overall trend, very important. Okay, is there a large increase for a certain year? Very important, right? Any abnormal trends? Is it increasing all the way or has it suddenly dropped? Very important. So your answer must revolve around these things generally. But very most importantly is the first one, overall trend, very important. Okay. Note, if you look at the answer here, we do have data. When you're given a stimulus, it is data response. So if it's a photograph, you need to tell me what you see in the photograph. If it's a graph, you need to tell me the numbers in the graph. So you cannot tell me, oh, it has increased. From 2014 to 2017, it has increased. That is good. That's not good enough. It has increased by how much? Okay, reaching a maximum of 4.77 million tons in 2016. Right, that shows me that you understand that it has increased. However, it has decreased from 2016 to 2017 by 0.05 million tons. So the shape of the graph will be complete in my head. Okay, so keep this in mind, right? The next one related to this, right, is an evaluation of the success. The success. So looking at this, what do we want you to come up with? We want you to come up with your evaluation. Is it successful? Right? Is it successful? You said it's increasing, right? It is increasing. So it's actually successful because it is increasing. However, look at the volume, look at the dip from 2016 to 2017. It shows that there's still a long way to go. So this shows that you are able to, while identifying the general trend, you are able to also identify the subtle trend. Okay, but the general trend is the most important one. So looking at it, it's generally increasing. So it's fair to say that it is successful. Okay, what are the other evidence that you can choose to give? You can talk about 4.72 million tons is a lot of trash. So this is rather successful as well. Finally, for 6C, they want you to evaluate whether the data is reliable. Reliable. So one key thing they can look at from the data set here is it's done from 2014 to 2017. The year now is 2024, or maybe 2025, or maybe 2026. So whichever year it is, the data is not current. The data is outdated. It's outdated. Therefore, will this be reliable? No, it will not be reliable because it is outdated data. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is the end of the video. This video is hopefully going to be helpful in your revision. Please note what is key in your exercises is the command words. Once you can identify what the question wants, you are better able to give a suitable answer. Okay, sometimes your answer is valid. The things you put down are valid. But if you're not answering the question, you get a 0. Okay, ATQ, it is in humanities, it's always about answering the question. Okay, not spouting facts that are unrelated. Right, so with that, you can review back whichever questions you want to take a closer look at, pause, take in the information, and I hope this becomes helpful for your revision.